Hello, everyone. All right, let's get started. So today's stream is going to be relatively short again, because I just want to do a bit of Japanese learning. Um, I've still been preparing for my exam that's going to come up end of September, so I only have a few weeks left. So I've been trying to scramble to get everything together. Um, I still have quite a bit of the brunt of the work to get through, but I think I'm kind of on track. So after that exam, I'm probably gonna be the most free, or feeling free that I've ever been. Um, yeah, I think my busyness kind of like kept me up this entire week. It took up most of my time, so I wasn't able to stream until today. Um, yeah, but once I get over this hump, I think I'll be able to stream with a bit more regularity. Uh, Birthday I already celebrated last weekend, so I went to get some Korean barbecue by myself. I ended up getting 4 orders of meat, which I think is usually more than most people can handle. I think it's probably like 2 or 3 at most, for most people. I just barely got through the 4 because one of the things I ordered was a relatively big steak. Um, so thankfully I was able to get through that, but still enjoyed. Still was able to just like enjoy myself eating. Uh, Not needing to like keep up conversation at the meal, because I think when I eat, I typically like to just focus on the food. Um, it is kind of a communion of sorts, as we always learn about in like literature classes. So like all meals or most meals inside literature are um, are allegories, are kind of like representative of the what do they call them? Oh shoot, what was the name for those things? Like communion, Eucharist, etc. Uh, Christian rites. So whatever those are called, yeah, communion is usually like a coming together of people to eat together, um, and yeah. But if it's like really good food, then I like to just focus on the food itself. Okay, so today I have with me a Prairie Artisan Ales Rainbow Sherbet Ale. Actually, I think it's rated quite well. Um, Someone I knew from a class that I was in recommended it, and I ended up being able to find it at a certain like specialty liquor store, and then I was able to find it again at a local discount liquor store, and it had a new label on it. So I think I was lucky that they just got a shipment. So if I think it's brewed in Oklahoma, so if you're able to find it, then I'd highly recommend it. So good. Okay. So I learned from last time with the kana that having to subtract 46 from every number that was a katakana was probably not the best way to go. So this time I just generated the numbers 1 through 46. And whichever number comes up, I'll just write the hiragana up here. Well, on the left, and then the katakana on the right. So it's easy to keep track of. Yeah, so I'll just get started. First is 23 fu. Hiragana. Fu for katakana is here. 21 is ha. I'm gonna have here. And then hachi ha for katakana. Looks like the number 8, hachi. 30 is no. No over here is that cream bread thing. And then over here, we just have a curve, kind of like a nose. So speaking of I'll write the numbers down here. Actually, 23, 21, 30. So I can like talk as I write these out. So there's this one place that's pretty close to here. I had a friend who would always get it, and she happens to be in the area today, so I was able to get it again. There's this place that has these like strawberry croissants with cream inside, and I'm not a dessert person, but I'd also admit that these croissants are definitely things that people should try out. Because the cream itself isn't too sweet, so it doesn't like make my body start rejecting it as easily. And I think it would probably, what would it go well with? I feel like coffee would be, like a black coffee would probably be the best thing to just have it with. So I think like when I first drank coffee, of course as a kid you don't really like it. Um, and I've tended to like more bitter things as I grew older. So as a kid, I didn't like bitter melon. I didn't like black coffee. Beer was out of the question. But then I think for some reason I had this like sudden shift to just being able to like handle very bitter things. Maybe it's because of life. Maybe it's because of just taste buds changing or like physiology. Oh, that was 6. Okay. At some point, black coffee became my like go-to, and I think it's probably for the best because it balances out anything sweet that I eat it with. K for cute for katakana. What is this? Yes, getting in there to being able to just remember these off the bat. We have tsu. Okay, erase some numbers. Been trying to keep OBS up on my second monitor too. Actually, I didn't even think of this. I can just put my browser on the left side, put my OBS on the right side. Yeah, I probably could have thought of that earlier. Next number is 26. Yeah. And then for beer, I ended up getting into beer because I had Lagunitas IPA. And if you ask almost anyone about how they got into beer, it's probably never going to be through an IPA unless they wanted to be like hipster or something, like consciously hipster. Like I had just turned 21-ish, and then a friend asked if I wanted anything, so I said just get an IPA because I didn't really know what IPAs were. And thankfully that turned out for the better because, wait, what? Huh. What happened with a random number generator? Because it generated numbers more than once. What the heck happened? Unique? Yeah. What? Oh, I had to change this too. Oh shoot. Okay. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm gonna start this over because I still generated 92 numbers, but I only had them generated from 1 to 46, so it just duplicated a bunch of numbers. Yeah. So I told the friend to just get me an IPA, and then they brought back the Lagunitas, and that stuff is like, IPAs are generally very bitter because of the amount of hops that they add into Actually, I don't remember when they add the hops in. If it's after the mash or after, or right before fermentation. But there's a running joke among people who don't like IPAs that people who enjoy IPAs just hand them an IPA, say, taste this, isn't it gross? Isn't it... Wait, what was it? Oh, taste this, isn't it gross? Yeah, it's so good, right? And I'd say I kind of agree with them. I mean, it's not like conventionally the best tasting, but it's like interesting. One kind of like unconventional taste for drinks though that I won't go with is like salty yogurt drinks. Like I can understand why people like them, but when I get a yogurt drink, I think like Calpico or something along the lines of sweeter drink, or like Yakult, right? So we have telephone. And for bitter melon, I still remember I had gone with my family, or I'd gone with my mom and grandma to this one place that was close to my grandma's house. And they had this like bitter melon that was cold, and it was almost like braised in this soy based sauce. And when I had that for the first time, like my view on bitter melon completely changed. Like I actually craved eating it after that. Which if you told younger me, I would not have believed you. It was so gross as a kid, especially when it was with the xiandan. It was this like salty almost like hard-boiled egg. I generally don't really like it too much. It's like very salty. That's why it's literally called salty egg in Chinese. But when it's mixed with the bitter melon, you already have the bitter melon's bitterness that kind of like makes it off-putting. But then added on top of that, the like graininess of the salty egg. Yeah, I just can't do it. Next we have salt. Seven is sheet. I do think that in a lot of cultures, they just gravitate towards some bitter foods because of like the vitamin content, I guess. Because now in the like curated foods of the current era, we don't really have to worry as much about bitter things being poisonous anymore. So maybe over time palates will actually evolve to crave bitter things for more people. Ta. What was ta? Well, I know it for here. Okay. Okay, so clearly this exercise is working better than just writing them in order. Heat. It's kind of ugly. This is one character that is really hard to write out in a pretty way. He, and then we have 39. Yay. Eh. Oh yeah, I can probably be a bit thankful for IPAs for getting me on beer though, because it's such an interesting world of flavors. When craft breweries are like adding weird things into it and it ends up working, then it's even better. One thing for IPAs though is that um, depending on the hops that they use, like the um, what do they call them? Those strains of hops that they use, um, they can impart different flavors to them. But one that I can't do is pine flavor, and a lot of them have pine in it. I tend to gravitate towards like very vibrant and like fruitier flavor profiles. So like with wines too, I actually really like Merlots because they are nice, young, bright and fruity. And that can really help out with kind of like just even stomaching it. Oh, I forgot to write the 6 for sa, and then we have 31 for ma. Ma math. And it's much nicer in this current age where like what you like isn't as looked down upon. Because I know like when what was the movie Streetcar or something came out and that like badmouth Merlots, it kind of like crashed Merlot's popularity, and it's still in the process of recovering from that like almost negative propaganda. And it's been a case since I started drinking whiskey, for example, of like whiskey is or all alcohol should be drank the way that you enjoy it the most. You shouldn't worry too much about how people see your taste because everyone's taste is different. So like if you want to mix your Johnny Walker Blue Label $200 $300 bottle with some Coke, I mean it's your bottle, so go for it. And I think that's a much healthier and funner mindset because it can also like open up more. Oh, I keep forgetting to write the numbers. More experimentation and more like interest without having the snobbiness. Na, N-A, na. I know it for here is this. But then na for hiragana. What was na? Na. There we go. It's 46 is n. It's kind of like a you do you mentality. Like, do what you enjoy, and as long as you don't like bother other people with it, or like shove it in their faces, or be snobbish about it in your own way, then more power to you. Oh no, that's wa. Whoa. 28 new. Oh, that was 42. 28 new. 32. Me. I think I mentioned this before. So when you're just counting numbers, we have like ichi, ni, san, shi, right? Or yong, right? But then when you're counting an object or people, there's a few of these that end up being, well, most of them end up being different. And it happens that this, the katakana for me, is like missiles coming down. But then I'm pretty sure for counting, if you say 3 of something, it would be mitsu. And it just so happens that this is the katakana for me. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but it's pretty cool. Okay, next we have a number 8, su. So su over here, we'd have slide, and then su here we have a suit coat hanger. Number 5, we'll have o. (17) is ki. Ki is easy to remember between the different for the difference between hiragana and katakana, because hiragana has this curve on the bottom, and then katakana just doesn't have that curve. So that's 17. Erase some numbers. Today's 12 is chi. Oop. Drew the line a bit too far to the left. 37 ri. This is another one that's pretty similar, just without this extra curve here. 43. And then 44 after that. So ya and yu. So we have ya, and then yu. (36) ra, ra. 23 is fu. 1, of course, is a. 25, ho. 40 is ro. Oh, wrong one. That one's over here. Okay. 29 is ne. Had this earlier. Oop. Ne. 35 mo. 27 ni. I think for the hiragana, these are kind of curvy rather than straight, like the number 2 ni. But then for katakana, we have ni 2. So that was 27, and then we have 30, getting close to the end now. 30 is no, so we already had this earlier. 38, we have ru. Do, right? 24 will be hit. Hit is the one with the curve to it, while the katakana is sharp. 41. Wa. 34 is me. So you can see how for katakana the me is just this part here, right? Without the curvy. Okay, and then last one, 13, will be tsu. So I already did this earlier. Tsu and tsu. Wonderful. Alright. So I'll move on to Genki now. Let's see. Okay, so let me make a Genki. Make a few new sheets for this. Okay, there we go. All right, so I think I'll review some of the stuff from chapter 1 by myself. Okay. So over here, there's been a heat wave. I was thinking of going to the Swan Convention tomorrow. But of course, because of the heat wave, I can't really deal with the heat too well. So decided not to go. So instead I'll probably, see if I can do a longer stream next time. Well, tomorrow. Doing some Genki, some more Genki. And then I'll see if I can plan a couple other things. Oh, okay. So I'll also need to take a look again at time and age. So the exceptions for like how to say the numbers, as well as the suffix that you add on to indicate time or age. Because there's quite a few. Subtleties there. Okay, so chapter 2 is shopping. I'll see if I can yeah, I guess I'll just like I'll just write out the dialogue here. So we have 2 characters, Mary and they call them mise no hito here. And this literally means shop. And then this is a possessive or, well, it's kind of like a possessive or a genitive case marker, no. So the shop's person. Or person at the shop. So pretty much just the store person, right? Okay. So mise is shop, and then hito is person. So if you were to write this out in kanji, I hope I have this correct. It would come out as mise no ito. Okay. So hopefully I can get some of this vocab. So Mary says sumimasen. Sumimasen. Right? これはいくらですか? これは. So the ha becomes wa when used as the subject marker. これはいくら? いくら? Te becomes desu ka. Story person says それは3000円3000円です. So それそれは topic marker. So は becomes は. それは3000円です. 33 I'll write it as the hiragana. So 3 zen se becomes ze 3000 n. I think they just write it as n, right? Like that. Des. Okay, let me check that. Yeah, it's just this. Okay, so let's break this down. Okay, so we start off with Mary saying sumimasen, right? Sumimasen. This is Japanese for the Japanese word for excuse me. Now we have これはいくらですか? So これは this is. So これ the ko refers to something close to you, this, right? And then れ I think is kind of like this thing, right? So if you do not specify the actual like thing that it is, then you'll use re. But then if you want to specify what it is verbally, then you would use kono. So this, and then this is also this. So this is where the subject is implied. So like this item, right? Whatever the item is. But then if you want to like say whatever the item is, so like let's say it's a snack, you would say kono, and then whatever the word for snack is, okashi. Kono okashi wa, right? So no if you want to specify, re if you just imply the subject. Okay, so based on context, ikura I think refers to price. Price? And I'll put a question mark. Because I know that money is okane. Okane. okane, money. So I think ikura is price, and then desu ka would be kind of like what is. So des by itself would be the sentence copula to end the sentence, but then adding on the ka produces a question. So I guess if you want to, well, I mean, the sentence put together would mean how much does this cost? What is the price for this? Okay, and then the store person says sore wa, right? So sore wa, and this translates to that is. So now that the subject becomes something that is further away from the store person and closer to Mary, the kore becomes sore. So I think they explain it either in this chapter. I think it's in this chapter because they explained ano in chapter 1. So let's say there's Mary here. There's the store person. And then let's say there's like a rack of stuff over here. And let's say that the rack is a decent distance from Mary and the store person. Okay. So for something close to Mary, right? Mary would refer to this as kore, right? Ko referring to something close to you. Now, the store person says sore here, sore, to the store person, right? Because the object in question is not close to the store person, so he can't say kore. But because it's close to Mary, the person that they're talking to, that's when you use sore. So kore is when something is close to you and you're the one speaking. And then sore is when something is close to the person you're talking to and you're the one speaking. So because the store person is referring to something close to Mary, they'll use sore. Now let's say either of them wanted to refer to something on the rack of stuff. Then they would use a instead. I don't remember if are. I think it should be are, right? So if either of them wanted to point to something on the rack of stuff that's further away from both of them, then they would say are. Okay, 3000 yen desu. So we have 3000. So that would be 3,000, I believe. So I think this is one of those cases where the number ends up changing a bit. Like the way you say the number ends up changing a bit because of the 3 here. So 1,000 would be sen. But then when you have the 3 in front of it, san, the sen becomes zen. Now I'm pretty sure this has to do with a similar occurrence to like senpai versus senpai, or tempura versus tempura. So I think it was something like some of the pronunciations ended up evolving over time. So you do still see people like romanizing senpai and tempura with either N or M. But I think like verbally for like 3000, the san sen, it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily. So it evolved into san zen, which is a bit smoother. Now I don't know the linguistics behind this. But I think it's something that like some people don't think about as much unless you like learn based on romanization. Okay, and then here's another one, N. So how do you write this? I think it's this. N. So this is actually yen. This is one of those cases where the English pronunciation went from N to yen. I don't quite know why, but if you do say this in Japanese, then it's actually N and not yen. And then we end off with des. End sentence. Copula. Okay, so now we have Mary responding to the 3,000 yen cost with takai desu ne. Takai. Te becomes de. Su ne. じゃあ、時計はいくらですか? So we have じゃあ, she becomes G, and then Ji ya. When you write the ya smaller, it'll let people know that it should be ja. Are you skeptical? Yeah, it'll be relatively short. I'm just learning some stuff for Japanese right now. I'm kind of burnt out from the week of work. And unfortunately, I don't know if like the Genki textbook, which I'm learning from, Genki, is copyrighted or not, so I'm just rewriting the sentences out here. Yeah. I am still trying to figure out what kind of content I really want to do. Past ones have just been like drawing in Japanese and then League. Hopefully I can figure out some other stuff that'd be fun to do. That doesn't require too much startup investment time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Although I'm also still like figuring out what kind of vibe I can go with for streaming as well. Whether it should be like comfy or more animated. Alright, so I'm on chapter 2 of this textbook right now, where it's talking about shopping. So I'm kind of seeing if I can break down the sentences without reading the chapter based on the Japanese I already know. And the first part is Mary going to the flea market. She asked the store person, excuse me, how much is this thing? I don't think it's specified in the sentence. And then the person responds, oh, it's 3,000 yen. Because of changing like inflation, 3,000 yen used to be able to be converted to just like $30. So you just strike off the last 2 digits and then that gives you the 30. But I think it's what was it? The yen was weaker now, so 3,000 yen right now is a bit less, like some bit less than $30. So moving on in the conversation, Mary responds, 高いですね。じゃあ、時計はいくらですか? So, 時計 tokei, tokei, right? Wa ikura desu ka? Ikura, what was it? Desu ka? And then the store person, the mise, mise. Oh, jeez. I'm still struggling to get some good handwriting for the Japanese characters. Because I grew up learning Chinese and my Chinese writing isn't that great either. Oh, yeah. I don't think my phone has a phone plan that would let me watch a stream while going outside on data or something. Yeah, but I can feel the struggle. Mise no hito? This just means store person. Actually, I think just generally writing on the drawing tablet is a bit harder. Because I'm not looking down on my hand while I'm writing, so I can't really tell exactly what the strokes will look like until they appear on the screen. Okay, so the start person says, あれは3500円です. So, あれは 3500. So, 3000, se becomes ze when you add the two apostrophes. 3500. So ko becomes go when you add the two apostrophes. Go hyaku. So I think the ya should be smaller here, because otherwise you have hiya. And then if you write the ya smaller, it'll become hya. Specific thing I like to do, I think I'd probably be more focused on like gaming, and then I do stream the Japanese just to give myself a bit more, I guess, like commitment to it. So like if I can stream every day learning a bit of Japanese, I'm basing this on watching someone else, this Japanese translator in Hong Kong, who was doing these stenography streams. So stenography is like this way of typing using a specialized keyboard to type faster. So like if someone can type like 130 words per minute, with stenography and training in it, they can actually get up to like 250 plus. And they've kept that up for over 100 days. So, and they've made a lot of progress. So I feel like if I can do that for Japanese, that'd be great. And then, other than games and Japanese, well, yeah, there's also learning how to pick up drawing. So, yeah, I guess I'm still kind of like feeling it out. But one thing I would probably back up my schedule with is just gaming streams. I do have quite a backlog of games that I've wanted to try out. Yeah, sorry, not much to go off of. Okay, so we have Mary starting off with takai desu ne. So takai. If you write this in kanji, this would appear as this. So takai can refer to two different things. So this kanji by itself means high. So it can refer to somewhere high, like a mountain. And it can also refer to price, so expensive. So of course in this context they're talking about the price of something. So Mary is saying that the 3,000 yen price tag is a bit too high for her. And then desune. This loosely translates to isn't it? So put together, isn't this price too expensive? And then we have this like kind of like a sound almost. And I think in this context, this probably best translates to Although, like, connotation wise, it would be translated as well then. Tokei wa ikura desu ka? So, So we talked about this in the last couple sentences. So you have different ways of referring to objects that are relative in distance to the speaker and the listener. So the fact that Mary uses ano here, would tell you that the object that she's referring to is somewhere further away from both her and the store person. So it'd be like on a rack of stuff or something. So, ano, that. And then this would be far from Mary and the store person. And then we have tokei. I think this is one of the starter words on Renshu. So for Japanese vocab, I go on renshu.org. They kind of like gamified the vocab learning process. The grammar is okay, I would say, but like the vocab is pretty extensive. You can set your own pace for studying. I've kind of put it on pause because I want to learn the grammar that's included inside this book. But it's like they have a couple missions every day for you to increase your XP. There's levels, collectibles. So if you're there every day, I think your vocab will probably improve better than a lot of other resources. And then there's also like the review process. So you can set up the schedule yourself as well for how many vocab words you want to review per day. So I definitely recommend this for people like me who like kind of like gamified learning processes. So one of the ones that I learned there was tokei, and tokei is watch or clock. And I think if this is a flea market, it's probably referring to a watch here. I don't know the kanji, unfortunately. And then wa would be the topical marker. So first to the tokei as the topic of the sentence. And then we have ikura again, ikura desu ka, which we pointed out over here is what is the price for this. So Mary's asking what's the price for this watch then? And the store person responds, "Are wa 3,500 yen desu." Yen desu. Oh, I forgot the yen desu. Okay, so now we have that difference that I pointed out on the last slide here. So when you are referring to an object and you don't specify what that actually is, the object actually is, then you'll use the re here. So Mary uses the kore to refer to something that's close to her. But let's say she wants to point out that it's a watch. So if she just said kore, the subject is not specified. But if she wanted to say this watch, then she would need to use an no and then toke, this watch. Specifying watch. So now here we see again, when Mary is referring to the watch specifically, she uses a no here, this that watch, right? And now we can see how the store person now just says are. They don't say toke specifically again, they just say are. So it's implied that the subject is the same watch that they were talking about in the last sentence. So the store person is able to just get away with saying are to refer to that watch. And then we have wa. So the hiragana ha becomes wa when used as a topical marker. And then we have, well, that. Okay. And then we have sanzen go hyaku-en. So sanzen appears again. So whatever Mary was referring to before, it was sanzen-en. So again, we have the 3,000. Sanzen. 3,000. And then now we have another number, gohyaku. So thankfully this isn't going to be... okay. Yeah. With all the concrete or walls and stuff, yeah, Wi-Fi is usually pretty bad. Okay, so gohyaku, right? So hyaku by itself is 100. And thankfully go, number 5, doesn't produce an exception. So one of the examples for the exception would be if you wanted to say 800, sorry. So hyaku, which is 100, would become pyaku if you added an 8 in front. So ha, and then you would add a little tsu, and then pyaku. So hi, if you add 2 apostrophes, it would become bi. So hi, bi. And then if you added a little circle, it would become pi. So we have here the pi. And then we still have the little ya here. So pi ya. When you make the ya smaller, this would just become pya. Ha pya ku. Right. So instead of hyaku, when you have the 8 in front, it becomes pyaku. So these are some of the exceptions that can really trip someone up. I'm still tripped up a lot by these. So that's a little aside. So thankfully 5 is not going to be so mean to us. So we have go. Ko becomes go when you add the 2 apostrophes. And go hyaku would be 500s. So that would be 500. We see en again, which is yen. But in Japanese it's actually pronounced en. So now we have the watch is 3,500 yen. Okay, so Okay, so Renshu definitely helped me because I'm reading the next sentences and it's actually making some sense. Okay, so responding to that price tag, Mary says, "そうですか?" "そうですか?" あれも高いですね。あれも高いですね。て becomes ですね。Store person responds. I'll just write store person now. Mise no hito, store person. これは1800. Oh, okay, so this is the example I pointed out just before. 1800円ですよ。1800円ですよ。And to finish it off, Mary says, じゃあ、その時計をください。その時計。Here's a grammar structure that I'm not familiar with. 時計. Hello again. Hope you were able to find everything you needed. ください. Oh, ください. ください. Alright. Okay, so we start off with Mary saying そうですね. Oh, そうですか. そうですか. And this would be, is that so? Are mo takai desu ne. Are. So we already know from the context that Mary is still referring to the watch. So she doesn't need to say ano tokei. She can just say are, and it would be implied that the watch is what she's referring to. So implied. And I think I've mentioned this on other Japanese learning streams that Japanese is a highly contextual language. So a lot of the time, this kind of like these kinds of context clues are imperative to being able to make sense of a sentence. Okay, so this is one thing that I learned from that streamer who does the Japanese to English translations. So mo can sometimes trip some beginner Japanese learners up because mo, if you were to try to like parse an entire sentence without kanji, so just with the kana, it can be sometimes hard to group up the kana into like specific meanings, which is why you use kanji. So like, let's say we didn't have the previous vocab of takai, meaning high or expensive, right? If you were to just see takai in a sentence and group the kana up with like other kana surrounding it, it can change the meaning completely. So in order to make sure that someone knows that the takai is meant to go together, you would change the ka to the kanji, and then the i would already be known to like follow this kanji here as an adjective. So sometimes people could mistake the mo for for being part of another, like another word in the sentence. So like, let's say we want to say like shopped goods. I think that should be kaumono. So unless you know that these 4 characters are supposed to go together to mean shopped goods or purchased goods, it can sometimes be hard to parse the sentence. But in this context, I know that the are refers to that for watch, and then I know that the takai refers to expensive. So what we have left is just the mo. And the mo would then be able to be translated as also or to. Oh, wait. Sorry, skeptical. I'm gonna have to translate some of that. Is that Tagalog? I'm using Google Translate right now, and it says Filipino. Ah, okay. Let's see. And I'm guessing at means and? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think so. I think the learning stream side is more like something for myself, just to keep up the discipline. And then for like fun things, it would be the gaming streams. Yeah, so if there's a game that requires probably a bit more like startup time, like so like the God, what was it called? The Lumion Legacy, then that would probably be after my exam at the end of September. But if it's one that I can like get into pretty quickly, then that would be, yeah, something to consider for gaming streams until then. Okay, so in this sentence we have the return of Takai. Okay, so again, that would mean high or expensive, and in this context, we're talking about buying things, so it would be expensive, desu ne. And here, the desu ne would be, isn't it? So, put together, so desu ka? Is that so? Are mo takai desu ne? That is also expensive, isn't it? So then, the store person refers to kore wa sen 1800 yen ですよ. Okay, so based on context, so I see this 1800 yen. So 1800 yen. So sen is 1,000, and then hapyaku. I already erased it on the last slide, but it's one of those exceptions where the hyaku for 100 becomes pyaku. So we have 1,800 yen. Desu yo. I personally don't know how to translate this yet, but the yo kind of like maybe I'll translate the rest of the sentence first. Okay, so kore. So or that. So because the store person uses kol, that means that first slide, kol, it would refer to something close to the speaker. So kore, oh, sorry. If it's close to the speaker, then it should be this, not that. So kore would be something close to the store person, and based on context, they were talking about a watch. So Mary was pointing to a watch over there, but then the store person is pointing to something close to them. So I would assume, based on context, that it's another watch. So close to the store person, and I'll add another note, other watch. And then we have ha, or wa, to act as a topical marker. And then this watch is 1,800 yen, 1,800 yen, desu. So the desu is kind of pointing out like, oh, we have one that's 1,800 yen instead, if you want that. Yeah, I hope in the chapter that they explain what the yo ends up doing. Yeah. And then I can see that like with the change in the price that for the watch, that it's probably another watch that they're referring to. Okay, and then Mary says ja. So on the previous slide, we've already seen that ja is well then. So well then, sono tokei, sono. So she uses so, and that would refer to something close to the person they're talking to. So the store person referred to the watch as something close to them with the kol, and now Mary is referring to the watch close to them as so. So we have so no tokei. And we can see that because she's specifying the tokei, the watch, it's a no instead of a re. So no tokei. Okay. That watch. Close to store person. All is another grammar structure that I still need to learn. The hiragana itself is actually the wo hiragana in the romanization, but pronounced it actually becomes kind of like an o. So the W is almost glossed over. And then kudasai, please. So she says, well then, that watch please. Yeah, I think they probably explain the wool in the actual chapter itself. Okay, so yeah, maybe this next short conversation is the last one I'll do for today, and then I'll probably extend the Japanese learning for tomorrow. Yeah, because this week was really just trying to get stuff done, and my brain is kind of burnt out. Shiranai hito. I don't know what that means. Shiranai. So they set up the situation as a man finds a wallet on the ground. So shiranai hito is probably referring to that person who finds the wallet. これは誰の財布ですか? So we have これ we have これは誰 ta becomes だ誰の財布ですか? And then we have Mary, who says, 私の財布です。私の財布です。ありがとうございます。か becomes がとうございます。こ becomes ござ oh さ becomes ざございます。Okay, so I think this will be, yeah, pretty quick to break down actually. So これは so not yet specifying what it is, but it's referring to something close to this shiranai hito. Hito means person, but I don't remember what shiranai means if I ever learned it. これは dare. So dare. Oh man, I should probably study up on my Chinese characters again too. What was it? Oh shoot. This is one of the first things that you learn as a kid in Chinese. Who? Oh my gosh, it was that simple. Okay. Who? And then when they have dare no, dare no, this becomes whose. Okay, so saifu. I didn't actually learn this vocab, but based on the fact that it's a man finds a wallet on the ground, I would assume that saifu refers to wallet. Desu ka? What is, or who it? Desu ka? I like just the question. Okay, so then Mary says, 私は私. So I did say that watching the video from Dogen on YouTube, that watashi, when you pronounce it in Japanese, the romanization might be watashi, but the W is pretty soft. And at the time I pointed out that there's like another way of referring to yourself as atashi. So these actually sound pretty similar, but atashi is, oh shoot, who would say it? It was some like female form of I. I think along the lines of like boku for guys. So the watashi still has the W sound to it, but it's a bit softer than most people would say. Pronounce it initially. So instead of just a hard W, watashi, it's actually softer, watashi. Okay, watashi no, so my. or watashi refers to I, and then we have this null here. So, watashi no is my saifu, wallet, this. That is my wallet. And then arigatou gozaimasu is the recognizable phrase. Arigato is thank you. And then additional politeness for finding the wallet would change that to gozaimasu. All right. So, section for tomorrow will be this: after shopping, Mary goes to the restaurant. Hopefully I can translate most of it without reading the chapter. And then I'll go into the vocabulary, or at least some of it. And then, most importantly, the grammar, because that's what I've been trying to get from the book. Yeah, and the nice thing about Genki is that it's good for learning Japanese that's more modernized, rather than like very rigid and not so colloquial manners of speech for Japanese. You found strange cola flavors. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a strange one. Like, I'm pretty used to seeing like vanilla or cherry, at least for cola. What else was there? Because I know there's like some stores have like the vending machines, or sorry, they have the those like soda dispensers where there's like there's an actual display, and for whatever like drink that they have, like Coke or Sprite or whatever, they have a bunch of flavorings that you can add to them, so you can like mix and match however you like. But usually what I see for like strange soda flavors, if it's soda, I think there's like some YouTube channels that have posted videos where they drink a bunch of weird sodas, like ranch soda. Like, don't know if you know ranch sauce or ranch dressing, because there might be some like differences in the English terms. Okay, let me see. Vanilla coffee. Marshmallow? Yeah, I don't think I would do that. It sounds a bit too sweet for me. Like, I'm not too much of a sweets person, so I mean, like, I do like soda, but it's like specific flavors. The marshmallow flavored Coke would probably be relatively close to the vanilla Coke in taste. But I do remember when I was quite a bit younger, I really like s'mores. Um, so if I don't know if you know s'mores, I think it's a pretty American thing. It's like the graham cracker, chocolate, and marshmallow. So you have there graham cracker, some nice either microwaved or marshmallows put over a fire, and then you have their chocolate bar, and it becomes nice and oozy and nice and well, yeah, the marshmallow, because it's melted a bit, it like oozes out. It's really, really good. But when I was a kid, I stupidly I took a bunch of marshmallows and I took a bunch of chocolate bars. I just put it into a bowl and threw that all in the microwave and just like swirled it around after it finished heating up. And it was just this big mass of sweetness. I took 2 bites and then it was just way too sweet. It also looked really gross. But I do like the I think oh, you okay, haven't tried it before. Yeah. It's something Americans pretty often make next to a campfire. So like they'll bring either these like wooden like uh shoot, what are they called? Uh skewers? Yeah, skewers, wooden skewers. And then you just skewer the marshmallow on top of that and then cook it over the campfire. And it turns like nice and golden, or you put it too close to the fire and it just catches on fire itself. But yeah, you can caramelize the outside of the marshmallow so it's a nice golden color, and it's really, really nice on a cold evening. I'd still recommend it as like if you're able to eat very sweet stuff. You can always just microwave the marshmallow. I think it's probably best to look up how long to microwave it, because the marshmallow, when you put it in the microwave, it'll start to expand, and it expands like pretty quickly. Uh, I've never tried expanding it until it's like bigger than the plate it's on. Yeah, but it's really fun. Uh, well, if you're, I think, yeah, the marshmallow bags come pretty big, so it'd be something nice to make with friends if you have them over or something. Yeah. I think the reason why they call it s'mores is because when you eat it, it's so good that you want some more, and I, and then that becomes s'mores. Oh, the arrow should probably go the other way. Yeah. All right. Well, I think I have a friend playing League, but he doesn't know I stream, so I'll probably wrap it up here and stream longer tomorrow. I think from the experience of streaming, as far as I've done so far, I realized that depending on what you're doing, it can be pretty tiring. So I'm trying to like improve my stamina for streaming. All right. Well, yeah, it's also 12:30 over here, so I should probably start getting the stuff I want to get done before I sleep done right now. So I'll switch over to, yeah, ending stream. Yeah, and once I improve on drawing, I'll improve these little screens. All right. So thanks for joining again, Skeptical. Oh, and I listened to the second video that you had with the singing. Is the Reese's Puff thing, is that song like a meme again? Because I remember seeing it in my childhood on the TV, and then more recently, Mori Calliope, she's one of the VTubers in Hololive. She had a song called oh shoot, what was it called? Uh, oh man, it's one of my favorite ones. She had this like very heartfelt song, and then someone just took the background track and put it to Reese's Puffs, and it was just like, bruh. Oh, okay, okay, I got it. Yeah, that was a Reese's Puffs were one of the like one of our favorite cereals growing up. Like all my friends, whenever I had a sleepover and we woke up in the morning, uh, most often they would have Reese's Puffs or yeah, I think more than any other cereal they would have Reese's Puffs. All right, well, thanks for joining in. I'll stop the stream now. All right, bye.